Were we watching the 2024 New York Mets on Tuesday night? Oh my God. The Mets down 6-1. David Peterson gets rocked. You think the season's basically over. You thought it was basically over going into the night. They come back from the dead. They come back. Brandon Nimmo ties it with a 3-run homer in an inning where they got some help from Dansby Swanson. A ball gets by him. They tie the game at 6. Lindor puts them ahead 7-6. Cubs tie at 7-7. And then Francisco Alvarez, as Gary Cohen called it, the biggest hit of his life. A 2-run piss missile through the Chicago wind to put the Mets ahead 9-7. And then Edwin Diaz, who the Mets have to do all they can to bring back if he opts out. Now, he may not, but if he does, the Mets need to pay Edwin Diaz because, man, is he an anchor to this bullpen. 6 dominant outs, 5 strikeouts. My God, he was unhittable. Closes the door. The Mets get the help from the Reds, losing to the Pirates. Dodgers, unfortunately, blew it in the 9th. Tanner Scott, who's been terrible, and it's good the Mets didn't sign him. And I admit I wanted him. Good they didn't get him. Blows it. Diamondbacks win. So Diamondbacks won back. Reds won back. We'll get to the standings in just a bit. But the story of last night was the game, and the Mets looking like they were dead. Shout out to the bullpen, man. Huascar Brazoban, Ryan Stanek, Soto, Rogers, Diaz, Raley with a big out, all getting the job done and holding on to the fort and backing up a brutal David Peterson in a game the Mets so desperately needed after losing 2 out of 3 of the Nationals. And now you are back in the third wild card. You control your own destiny again. So it's simple as this. If the Mets win out, they're in. So that's the good news. We'll talk about the scenarios, a little bit here. But, wow. I was on live the whole game on the edge of my seat. The chat was buzzing. We were buzzing. Again, follow me at Jake Brown Live. You're watching Mets Daily. Smash that thumbs up on this video. Let us know in the comments below. Do you think the Mets are going to go to the playoffs? Let us know in the comments section below. Do you believe? Yesterday's comments. E.E. Moreau says the Mets need to win the next game. Let's go Mets. Keep the faith for our sake and yours. Tuck Loomis said, let's go Mets. Nezzy765 says LGM. So there's some positivity in the Mets Daily chat, folks. Are you positive? Let us know if they come back. But, man, I wore my OMG shirt last night for the game for kind of some good vibes. And finally, the Cubs, they lose their first game where they led by 5 or more. So the Mets did something to the Cubs that hasn't happened to them all year. And, man, did they show fight. And we hope we see that all week. 5 more games to go tonight. Critical game for Jonah Tong. I mean, you're putting this kid in a really tough spot today, but go get him, kid. He answered he answered the question last week if he's going to make another start by pitching a gem. Now he goes against Boyd tonight, the lefty, in another tough game. Remember, the Cubs still trying to hold on to that first wild card spot as the Padres are on their necks. Wow, that was pretty special last night. The one special thing not about last night's David Peterson. And I've got some heat on Twitter from people saying you're an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Because I said the Mets should consider trading David Peterson this offseason. And here's why. It's not just one bad start. You look at the second half of the season, he has fallen off a cliff. And unfortunately, yes, it's the most innings he's pitched, and I get that. This was a guy in the first half of the season was an all-star. Now his ERA has jumped to 4.22. Last year, 121 innings. Each year he's pitched more innings. So, listen, I get it. He's hit his cap on innings, but, are we going to be able to trust this guy in the second half of the season if he wears off like this? 2020, 49. 2021, 66. 2022, 105. 2023, 111. 2024, 121. And he was 10-3 with a 2.9 ERA last year. And this year, 9-6, 168 and 2/3. And he was an all-star in the first half. Here's why I don't think you're really trading him at the lowest value. One, he has one more year of arbitration. So David Peterson is not going to make any more than, maybe $7 or $8 million next year, most likely. He made $4.625 in arbitration this year, was an all-star. I'd imagine he gets somewhere in the 7 to 8 range. He's not going to cost a lot before he becomes a free agent. Two, now that he's got all these innings under his belt and proven that he was healthy, this year and for a majority of last year once he returned from that hip surgery. I think teams can rely on him to at least be healthy and make 30 starts. I think for 1 year at that cheap price, I think mid-market and lower market teams will be interested that need starting pitching. I think if he goes to a smaller market, less pressure, David Peterson could really be a good find for a team in a trade. And I know the naysayers will also say this: why don't you keep him? He's cheap. He's a lefty. You get a second lefty to join Manaea. He was great for half the season. Why would you get rid of him when his value is low? Well, the Mets have Tong, they have Sproat, they have McLean, and you also got to figure they're going to be hunting for a real ace in the offseason, whether it's a free agency or a trade. So you're talking about probably the addition of 4 starting pitchers to this opening day rotation, and you already have Manaea. You're probably going to have Senga. You might have Holmes still in the rotation unless they move him to the bullpen. So I don't know if there's going to be a real spot for Peterson. You could argue move him to the bullpen as well, but I don't know. This second half of the season concerned me from Peterson. It really did, and I get it. He's pitched more innings than ever, but is that going to be the excuse we make next year as well? I mean, this start, 5 innings. Last starts, 5 runs. This start, excuse me, folks. Inning and third, 5 runs. Last start, 5 innings, 6 runs. Start before, 5, 3 runs. Start before, 5 and a third, 4 runs. Start before, 2 innings, 8 runs. Then he had a 2-run and a 1-run, and then 6 runs, 4 runs. I mean, since August, for the most part, he's been dreadful. And his ERA has jumped almost 2 runs in the second half of the season. And, that's when you need a guy the most. And he has not buckled down when you needed him most. So, listen, I'm fine keeping him. And I understand people saying, why would you trade him when his value is low? But I do think he holds value in the fact that he's affordable next year, and he's a lefty, and he's shown signs that he can be a number 3, number 4 starting pitcher. So I think a team like, I don't know, Pittsburgh or one of these other small market teams, Texas, I think Peterson would make sense in a deal for them. I know you're not going to get the world back, but the reality is next winter, if you keep him, you're going to have to pay him. Do you feel comfortable paying a pitcher who broke down in the second half? And how much is David Peterson going to get? He's probably going to be a $15 million a year pitcher. He might want 4 years, $60 million after next year. And if you're the Mets, are you comfortable giving him that deal when you do have this young starting pitching? So that's why I think this offseason might be the time to move on from him. Just my 2 cents. Let us know in the comments below. Keep David Peterson. Do you move him to the bullpen? Do you trade him? We know one thing, guys. You can't start him again this season. If the Mets make the playoffs, he's ruled out now as a starter. He's a reliever in the playoffs. I think he's on the playoff roster. He's not a starter. He's going to be a reliever, and you cannot start him. If Sunday's game matters for something, you cannot start him. If the Mets, hopefully they do. I don't know if they will. If they clinch Saturday, then yeah, you could start him on Sunday if the game doesn't mean anything and you're in the third wild card. But if that game Sunday means something, I don't want to see David Peterson on the mound. And in the bullpen, I'd rather, in the playoffs, I'd rather not see him on the mound unless it's a blowout. Maybe he's in there for an inning and face a couple lefties. But I don't think you can be comfortable right now with David Peterson. He's clearly got nothing left in the tank. Well, we got 5 games to go. Again, the Mets 1 up on the Reds, 1 up on the Diamondbacks, who came back in the 9th inning, scored 2 runs to win. Sucks for the Mets. But Blake Snell is on the mound for the Dodgers tonight. The Pirates, thank you for your service. They have Paul Skeens on the mound tonight. That is huge. They surprised the Reds yesterday, but the Reds are throwing Hunter Green. So it's Skeens versus Green in a huge pitching matchup at 6:40 tonight. The Giants, who we talked about, Drew Gilbert, what he brought to the table. Is that trade going to come back and bite the Mets? Are the Giants going to get in? The Giants are done now. What a wild last week it's been for the Giants. We talked about how easy their schedule was this week, but they didn't make it. They are now eliminated from postseason. They were 4.5 back, and because of tiebreakers, they are now eliminated. The Marlins, they came back to beat the Phillies. They've won 7 in a row. The Marlins are not eliminated just yet. And remember, the Mets end the season with the Marlins. So, I'm not saying they're going to get in. They probably won't, but shout out to the Marlins, man, for even being in this right now. They are playing unbelievable baseball, and a good chance that, they could finish the season around 500. And with that roster to be around 500, they deserve a reward. I mean, it's been amazing what they've been able to do with a no-name roster. A lot of young talent, though, down there in Miami. And look, they're trying to knock the Phillies out from potentially getting that bye. They've not clinched that bye yet. Here's the scenarios. The Brewers are 3 up on the Phillies. The Phillies are 4 up on the Dodgers. So it's likely going to finish Brewers 1, Phillies 2, Dodgers 3. The Cubs, they are 1.5 up on the Padres at the moment for that top wild card spot. So that's the wild card. They lose the tiebreaker to the Padres. So if the Padres finish tied with the Cubs, the Padres will get home field and take on the Cubs for best 2 out of 3. The Cubs lead the tiebreaker over the Dodgers. The Padres lead the tiebreaker over the Mets. The Dodgers lead the tiebreaker over the Padres. They lose the tiebreaker to the Brewers and Cubs. So the top 3 look to be settled. Like we said, the Mets win the tiebreaker over the Cardinals, but they lose the tiebreaker over the D-backs, Padres, and Reds. And the tiebreaker with the Marlins to be determined in those last 3 games. So, the D-backs, Reds, they're on the Mets' tails, but here you go. You got your control of your destiny again, guys. And that's all you can ask for. Let's go Mets tonight. Jonah Tong on the hill for the Mets in a critical game against Matthew Boyd. Let's keep the OMG, the positive 2024 Mets vibes going. And, win the last 5, you're in. You got control of your own destiny back. That's all you could ask for right now. What a game. Let's see what we got in store tonight. Let's go Mets. Smash that thumbs up. Scan that. Become a Mets Daily Insider member. And follow along on the journey at Jake Brown Live. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow right here on Mets Daily. Let's go Mets.